think anyone was going to be here. So last time I stood up at this podium, I was a CISO for a component within DHS, and of course now I joined the dark side and went into the private sector and became a CISO there. But what I will say, it is certainly nice to be back, to be among friends and peers and colleagues that I've known for years. This is such a great event, so I couldn't commend the team more. So when we think about today's cybersecurity ecosystem, we only have to look at incidents like SolarWinds or even some of the more recent breaches that are making headlines to see the reality. Attackers are really not primarily breaking through using some sort of exotic zero-day as they once were. No, it's more simpler than that. They're exploiting poorly protected and over-provisioned endpoints via third-party applications or social engineering an organization's access management process, or in some cases bypassing non-phishing resistant MFA to assume account control. Privileged accounts, unmanaged credentials, and access management sprawl have become the go-to attack vectors for many cyber threat actors. One of the biggest challenges that organizations tend to hand out, one of the biggest challenges that's created though, these organizations tend to, over time, hand out access, right? Administrators grant privilege to colleagues or to contractors or specific projects, and those rights accumulate without any revisiting or checks in place to handle them. In addition, and it's not uncommon to see organizations that have many different IAM type applications running on. I actually know several that have 10 or more. The result is a very decentralized, bespoke web of access control systems that leave organizations without enterprise visibility while straddling them with an inability to manage access to their systems, their data, and their applications across the enterprise. So and by the way, it's not just the humans, right? It's also the non-human identities that are a problem, like applications and APIs and automated processes. These now probably outnumber the human identities in most organizations, and they rely on secrets and passwords and tokens and keys and certificates. And if those aren't managed carefully, they're just as risky, if not more so. And in the end of the day, it's the equivalent of making your domain admin account with a password, not even putting the fancy asterisk in there. So in government, though, there's also another problem. With legacy systems often living side by side with modern cloud applications, many organizations still do not have centralized enterprise-wide access control capabilities. And given the focus on IAM as an attack vector, the threat to the public sector cannot be understated. So what does it mean to do modern access control then? Let's start with secrets. So secrets are any credential, token, key, or sensitive configuration artifacts that let one system talk to another. API keys, database connection strings, OAuth tokens, certificates, and private keys, as well as passwords, are attractive targets for attackers, as we've seen, because it grants the threat actor a level of access into your enterprise while rendering most of your cyber defenses useless. In a sense, the attacker becomes the ghost in the machine. With modern access control, centralization is your friend. Don't scatter secrets across your repos and wikis. Store them in a dedicated secrets manager. Encryption at rest and in transit is a must, as is ensuring least privileged access via policy at the enterprise level. No blanket admin rights should ever be granted. Not that, of course, never happens. It happens all the time, actually. With centralized secrets management, lifecycling can then become possible at scale and speed. It's not just about storing those credentials, though, in a vault. It's also about enforcing who can access them, rotating them on a periodic basis, and ensuring that they're never hard-coded or hidden in configuration files. And if we're talking about the public sector, we have to include your friend and mine compliance. Every agency, private or public, has regulatory requirements to meet. But compliance is not the same thing as security. And in fact, passing an audit or holding a certification does not stop an attacker. Compliance provides a baseline against known risk. It's really the place that security starts. It's not where it stops. So that means that you must go beyond the checklist and identify unknown risks and close the gaps before the adversaries help you find them. For the public sector in particular, implementing zero trust has become sort of the North Star as it relates to access control. And no, I am still not a fan of the term, but I am a fan of the concepts that it embodies. Never assume trust, always verify, and always grant least privileged access required. But we have to keep in mind that zero trust is not just a technical shift, it's a cultural one too. It requires leadership to support cyber programs and funding and resourcing the tools and processes necessary to do the job. The goal is to make security an enabler of the mission. The hardest part of zero trust is not the technology, but rather the cultural change that is required to make zero trust implementation a success. Two elements that we cannot exclude here: automation and visibility. Without automation, secrets and privilege sprawl out of control. We've seen it time and time again. With automation, you can rotate credentials, enforce access policies at an enterprise level, and monitor activities at that same level without adding additional manual workloads. Visibility means knowing exactly who has access to what, when, and why. Because at the end of the day, if you can't protect what you can't protect what you can't see. We need to, and the last thing, and one of the other points that I, very near and dear to my heart, is we need to make sure we introduce a little chaos into your environment. Now is the time to start your access control modernization journey. The worst time is to figure out your access control, whether your access controls are working or not, is during an actual incident, which is often the case. Agencies need to run exercises, continually employ red and blue teaming, and invest in a bug bounty program. The intent here is to stress your systems before attackers do it for you. Security readiness is not a one-time project. It's an ongoing discipline and an operational premise. Finally, no agency should feel like they're solving this alone. Collaboration across the public sector and with trusted vendors helps everybody enhance their defenses. Sharing best practices and lessons learned strengthens the ecosystem as a whole. So before my time runs out, and I still have time, Goldie's not paying attention too, I want to leave you with a few critical takeaways. First, manage human and non-human identities. Do not forget the non-human identities. Too often, when people start talking about ICAM or IAM, they think people. That's actually the easiest part of the entire process. Centralize and automate your secrets management. Go beyond compliance by always asking, what don't I know? And just assume you're missing something. Adopt zero trust as both an operational foundation and a culture. Make automation the standard and check, recheck, and then check again your visibility into your enterprise. The perception of one's cyber defenses and the reality are often two very, very different things. Assumptions are the worst, and they are a killer of cybersecurity. How many times have we heard people say, well, I thought we patched that, or I thought we did that? Chaos security is your friend. Embrace it. And finally, success here is linked directly to the level of collaboration between agencies and partnerships. Cybersecurity is, after all, a team sport, so we win this together. Thank you very much.